Good morning. Now let's discuss today about the soul. Now the skin of the soul, this is a thick skin, non-hairy thick skin, and beneath that is this superficial fascia containing this subcutaneous fat, and this fat, it is divided into multiple loculi by this septa, connective tissue septa, which runs from this plantar aponeurosis towards the dermis of the skin, and they subdivide this fluid fat. Rather, this is not a solid fat, rather it is a fluid type of fat, and they subdivide this fat into multiple loculi for better withstanding of the friction. And these connective tissue fibers, which are connecting to the dermis of the skin, they prevent the deglowing of this skin of the soul and maintaining it taut. So this portion is taught by this fibrous septa running from this plantar aponeurosis in the deeper aspect, and at times this fluid fat is thicker in the portion of the friction, as evident here. At the region of the sole it is thicker, and at the level of this metatarsophalangeal joint it is thick. Now next is the cutaneous innervation of the sole. Now this sole, this portion of the heel, it is supplied by a branch from the tibial nerve main portion. So this branch, which is the medial calcaneal branch from the tibial nerve, it supplies this portion of the heel, and then this portion, it is similar to that of the supply in the palm. So this medial 3.5 portion, it is supplied by the medial plantar nerve, which is a branch of tibial nerve, and this lateral 1.5 portion, it is supplied by the lateral plantar nerve, again a branch of the tibia. It is similar to the supply in the palm by the median and ulnar nerve. Now the borders, these are supplied by different nerve. This medial border, this portion up to the portion of metatarsophalangeal joint, this portion is supplied by the saphenous nerve, this medial border, and this lateral border again up to the level of this metatarsophalangeal joint, this portion is supplied, this lateral border is supplied by the sural nerve. Now the plantar fascia or plantar aponeurosis, as we know, it is seen after removing the skin and the superficial pad of the fat, and after that this dense collagenous fibrous portion is seen, and it is seen arising from the tubercle of the calcaneus, from this portion, mainly from the medial calcaneal tubercle. And these fiber, they are arranged in these three-dimensional array. Some fibers which are mostly seen, they are running longitudinally, some of them are seen as running transversely, and some of the fibers, they deep down vertical. So the fibers are longitudinally as well as transversely as well as vertically running fiber in that three-dimensional array. Now these fibers, as they arise from this medial calcaneal tubercle, they fans out over the sole, and just proximal to the metatarsophalangeal joint, they divide into the 5 slits for each of the toe. And these fibers, after dividing, they go to the respective finger digits, and these fiber just proximal to the metatarsophalangeal joint, they are connected to each other transversely. So these are the transverse fascicle which connect this longitudinal band. So these are the transverse fascicle, and just at the level of this metatarsophalangeal joint, at the level of the metatarsal head, these are connected to each other through this superficial transverse metatarsal ligament. Now distal to that, at the region of the cleft of the finger, these distal slip, they bifurcate for the passage of the flexor tendon, and they are inserted around the edges of the fibrous flexor sheath and also dipping down into the deep transverse metatarsal ligament, and these are again representing this deeper fiber. And from each edge of this fascia, a septum penetrates as medial and lateral intermuscular septum, and these again represent the vertically running fiber dipping down from this. And also the fiber from this plantar aponeursis, they come towards the dermis of the skin, and they uh, divide the septa, this fat, semi-solid fat which is there, or the fluid fat which is there. These fibrous tissue septa arising from this plantar aponeursis, they goes towards the dermis and divide this fat into loculi. So the fibers, again longitudinal fibers going to the digits, each digits by dividing. Then there are transverse running fiber, transverse fascicle, as well as the superficial transverse metatarsal ligament, as well as in the deeper aspect you can see this deep transverse metatarsal ligament. And at the digits, the fiber, they bifurcate and they are attached to this fibrous flexor sheath as the vertical running fiber, as well as this medial and lateral plantar septum which divides this mid portion from the muscles of the hallux medially and the muscles of the little finger digiti minimi lateral. So this is the lateral plantar septum, and this is the medial plantar septum. And also the fibers coming towards the dermis, they again represent the vertical fibers. Now the layers of the soles. There are 4 muscular layer, and in between them there are 2 layers containing the neurovascularity. Now the first layer of the sole, it consists of 3 short muscles that cover the sole, and they are lying just beneath the plantar aponeurosis. And out of these 3 muscles, one is for the hallux, which is the abductor of this uh, big toe. One is the abductor of this little finger, this minimi, and one is the flexor of the digits, short flexor of the digits. Now the second layer, it consists of long tendon to the digits, long flexor tendon to the digits, to the hallux as well as the other fingers, other digits, and their connections, which includes the lumbrical as well as the flexor accessorius. Now the third layer, it consists of short muscles which are confined to the metatarsal region, and they are for the great and the little toe, and that includes the flexor of the great and little toe as well as the adductor of the great toe. Now the fourth layer, it consists of these interossei, including the plantar and the dorsal interossei, and it also includes these tendons of the peroneus longus and tibialis posterior, which crosses the sole and being attached there. Now between them, like in the between the first and the second muscular layer lies the plantar arteries and nerve, and between the third and fourth layer lies the plantar arch. So we will discuss that. Now before moving forward, we must compare these two homologous portion, palm and sole. Palm is for the comprehension, for precision, and sole is for support of the lower limb or the body weight. So once you know the architecture in the palm, it's easy to have them in the sole. So in the palm there are two eminences, one is this thenar and one is this hypothenar. In the region of this thenar eminence there are three muscles which are lying from superficial to deep. Initially first was this abductor pollicis brevis, lying just deep to is the flexor pollicis brevis, and the deeper most is the opponens pollicis. And similarly in case of this digiti minimi, there was this flexor and this abductor digiti minimi, and the deeper plane was the flexor digiti minimi. And also in case of this thumb, there was an additional mechanism for adduction known as the adductor pollicis. So these are the thinner and the hypothinner portion. And in this portion of the digits, it consists of two flexors. One is the profundus, flexor digitorum profundus, another is the flexor digitorum superficialis. This flexor digitorum superficialis, it is split, and flexor digitorum profundus tendon passes between this and being attached to the distal phalanx, and this superficially it is attached to the proximal phalanx. So the moment they divide the tendon of the flexor digitorum profundus, they give rise to these lumbricals. So there is this similar architecture in case of this sole. It also consists of these first layer, which consists of this abductor of the toe as well as the abductor of the little finger. Then it consists of, deeper to that is the flexor of the big toe, as well as in the little finger there is a flexor digiti minimi brevis. And in the deeper aspect, it also consists of this adductor hallucis. And in case of these digits, it consists of two flexors, one flexor which is known as flexor digitorum longus, and another flexor which is here the flexor digitorum superficialis. Here the name and the position is changed. Now it is known as flexor digitorum brevis. So flexor digitorum brevis, here you can see this tendon has been bifurcated, they are bifurcated, and through these this the tendon of flexor digitorum longus it passes, and it is attached to the distal phalanx, and that of the flexor digitorum brevis, it is attached to the proximal phalanx after bifurcation. And the moment they are separating this the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus, they are separating, you can see how the lumbricals are rising. So they are in similar fashion, except something has moved, and like the tendon of this flexor digitorum brevis, it has moved towards the distal portion. Here it was proximally attached, here it is moved distally. And some other muscles, they have just changed their position, and one main thing is the deepest portion here, they have no opponents here. So we will discuss them one by one. Now starting with the first layer of the sole. Now the first layer of the sole consists of these three muscles. Medial most is the abductor hallucis. Centrally placed is this flexor digitorum brevis, counterpart of the flexor digitorum superficialis of the hand, and lateral most is the abductor digiti minimi. Now this abductor hallucis, it overlies the structure which passes beneath the flexor retinaculum. Now Starting with the abductor hallucis. This muscle, it arises from the medial process of the calcaneus as well as from the deeper aspect of the plantar aponeurosis, medial portion. And from here, this tendon, it proceeds, and as it proceeds, the structure passing beneath the flexor retinaculum underlies it. Now it proceeds further and it is attached to the base of the proximal phalanx of the great toe through this medial sesamoid bone, and it is a powerful abductor of the great toe hallux, and it, it supports the medial longitudinal arch, and it is supplied by the medial plantar nerve. Now second is flexor digitorum brevis, and this muscle, it occupies the central portion of the sole, and it arises from this medial process of the calcaneus as well as the deeper aspect of the central portion of the plantar aponeurosis. From here, this muscle passively it proceeds and it divides into its four slips at the roughly at the base of the metatarsal, and these tendon then proceed forwards and it passes just deep to the fibrous flexure sheath, and then they bifurcate, and through this bifurcation passes the tendon of flexor digitorum longus, and these slips, bifurcated slips, they join in a chiasma for a moment, and then they are attached to the base of the middle phalanx, so as they bifurcate, through these passes the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus, which is attached to the base of the distal phalanx. So this pattern, this arrangement of this flexor digitorum brevis is similar to that of the flexor digitorum superficialis of the palm, and this flexor digitorum brevis represents the as a counterpart of the flexor digitorum superficialis of the palmar portion. Now next muscle is abductor digiti minimi. Now this muscle, this is the laterally placed muscle, lateral most muscle. Now it arises from this lateral as well as the medial process of the calcaneus and the adjacent lateral portion of the deeper aspect of plantar aponeurosis, and from here this tendon, it moves forwards and it is attached to the this tubercle at the base of the fifth metatarsal as well as into the base of the proximal phalanx of the little toe on the lateral side, and it is a abductor of this little toe and is supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. Now in this lateral view, look at the relation of the structure passing beneath the flexor retinaculum with respect to this abductor hallucis. Now this abductor hallucis, as it passes from this medial process of calcaneus towards its insertion into the proximal phalanx of the hallux, it overlies the structures which passes underneath the flexor retinaculum. So to see this structure, we have to cut and reflect the abductor hallucis first. So we have to incise the abductor hallucis, and then we will trace the plantar neurovasculature proximally to their origin beneath the flexor retinaculum. So the structure that will be seen, they are medial and lateral plantar nerve and medial and lateral plantar vessels. Now this medial and lateral plantar nerve, they both are branches of the tibial nerve, and the medial and lateral plantar vessels, they are branching off arteries, they are branching off from the posterior tibial artery, and as evident here, they lie between the first and the second layer of the sole, this neurovascular portion. So to access these, we have to incise this abductor hallucis first, and then they are evident. So here this abductor hallucis is there, but this flexor digitorum brevis has been cut to this reveal this structure, neurovascular structure in the sole, lying between the first and the second layer of the sole. Now this medial plantar nerve, it is lying just lateral to the medial plantar artery, whereas this lateral plantar nerve, this is lying medial to the lateral plantar artery. So this is the relationship of these neurovascular structure, as they lie just beneath the abductor hallucis. Now next, obviously we cut, though it is done in the when we do the two sole at the same time. So one of them is reserved for the neurovascular structure and another for the layers, muscular layer. So in the second sole, we generally cut and reflect the flexor digitorum brevis, and then we see the second layer of the sole, and they comprises of this long flexor tendon as well as their connections. So the long flexor tendon are the tendon of flexor hallucis longus going to the hallux, flexor digitorum longus going to the lateral 4 digits. Then they are the lumbricals arising from the bifurcation or the division of this flexor digitorum longus, and there is a muscle, quadrangular muscle known as quadratus plantae or flexor accessorius. So we will discuss them one by one. So this long flexor tendon, they enter the sole passing beneath the flexor retinaculum, and here their relation is that this flexor digitorum longus, it is lying medially, and the flexor hallucis longus, it is lying laterally as they enter the sole just beneath the flexor retinaculum. Now as this flexor digitorum longus, it has to move lateralward for these lateral 4 digits, it crosses just superficial to this flexor hallucis longus, and as it crosses this flexor hallucis longus, it gives two strong slips to its medial 2 division, which is going to the medial 2 digits. Now this portion where it crosses, this portion is known as the plantar chiasm. We have already discussed that this is plantar chiasm. Now about this individual muscle, the flexor hallucis longus is enter the sole, and it runs as a bowstring between this uh, posterior portion towards its insertion into the hallux like a bowstring, and it supports this medial longitudinal arch, this portion. So this tendon, it passes and it runs in a groove lying between this medial and lateral sesamoid bone at the head of the lying at the head of the first metatarsal, and then it moves further to attached to the base of the distal phalanx. So it runs as a bowstring supporting the medial longitudinal arch. Now this flexor digitorum longus, as we have already discussed, it runs from medial to lateralward, crossing this tendon of the flexor hallucis longus, and just after the chiasm, it divides into its four slips for this lateral forefinger, and just after subdivision, it gives this four lumbrical. As subdivides, the lumbricals arises. Now this tendon, it moves further, and after this lumbrical has arisen already, it passes through this fibrous flexure sheath between this bifurcation of the flexor digitorum brevis. Flexor digitorum brevis, which has bifurcated, the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus passes through this bifurcation, and it is attached to the base of the distal phalanx. Thus, it causes the strong flexor of this finger. So, in continuity, let's understand this fibrous flexure sheath. Now, this fibrous flexure sheath, it is similar to that of the fibrous flexure sheath in the hand, and this is a osteoaponeurotic canal. And this osteoaponeurotic canal, it contains the termination of the long and the short flexors muscle. Their terminal portion, the tendon, they traverse through this osteoaponeurotic canal. Now this portion, it contains osseous, that means the bone, as well as the aponeurotic portion. Now this portion, it is bounded above by this bony phalanges, and below by this fibrous arching band, which arches and encloses the tendon, and they are attached on the margins of the phalanges. So a osteoaponeurotic canal is formed above by this bony portion of the phalanges, and below by this portion of the aponeurosis. Now this portion, this fibrous flexure sheath, it has two different portion. One portion is known as the annular fiber. Annular fiber are present at the phalanges. So at the phalanges, the fibers, they are stronger and they traverse transversely. The fiber are arranged transversely. And at the joints, they are more lax, thinner, and they are the crucifying band, crossing band, decussating band. So this forms the cruciform portion. Now each osteoaponeurotic portion, this is the portion which is incised. The portion of the aponeurosis has been incised in this portion. So it is evident how this osteoaponeurotic canal, it has a synovial lining, and which is reflected around the tendon for smooth movement, and within this sheath they are attached, this portion of the synovial line, they are attached to this tendon by this vincula tendinum, vincula longa and vincula brevia. There are two more muscles which are intimately related to this long flexor tendon of flexor digitorum longus. One is the lumbricals, another is this flexor accessorius, also known as quadratus plantae. And this quadratus plantae, it has no homologue in the hand. Now it arises by its two head. This medial head, which is a fleshy head, and this lateral head, which is slender and tendinous head. Now this medial fleshy head, it arises from this medial concave surface of the calcaneus just below the groove for the passage of flexor hallucis longus. And this Lateral head, it arises from this lateral border just below this lateral process, and from this origin these two belly they converge and they are attached to this portion of the tendon of flexor digitorum longus where they divide into its four slips. Just at this portion it is attached, and as it is attached it causes the traction in this muscle, and it modifies its oblique pull into a straight pull, as well as it causes the flexion of the digits in all situation of the ankle joint, all uh, condition of the all position of the ankle joint. It causes the flexion of these digits, and it is supplied by lateral plantar nerve, direct branch from the lateral plantar. Now the flexor accessorius, it has two important relation. One which lies between the gap of these two heads, between the medial and lateral head. You can see this is the long plantar ligament, and it also gives origin to the lateral portion of its fiber, the tendinous portion. It also arises from the long plantar ligament also, and we can see the long plantar ligament lying in the gap between the two heads of this quadratus plantae or flexus accessorius, and also this nerve. Now with relation to this quadratus plantae, we can see this medial plantar nerve, it is lying just medial to it, and this lateral plantar nerve is lying just superficial. The second muscle is the lumbrical, which is related to this flexor digitorum longus, and it arises from their angle of separation into these distal slips. As they separate from this angle, these lumbricals arises from the adjacent side of these slips, except the first lumbrical, which arises only from the medial side of this first slip of the division of the flexor digitorum longus. So this first one is unicipital, and these lateral three are bicipital. Now these lumbrical, they passes to the cleft and they goes towards the medial side of the digits, and they passes to the plantar side of this deep transverse metatarsal ligament, and then they dip down or dip rather up and goes towards the dorsal side and being attached to the extensor expansion of the disc. So they maintain the extension of the digit and help in the flexion of this flexor digitorum longus. When they flex the finger, these maintain the extension of the interphalangeal joint. So they, when they are functioning, they are working, they don't buckle under. And the nerve supply, the first lumbrical, which is unicipital, it is supplied by the medial plantar nerve, and these bicipital one, 2, 3 and 4, they are supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. So the arrangement is quite similar to that in the hand, because even in the hand those which are supplied by this median nerve, they are unicipital, and those supplied by the this ulnar nerve, they were bicipital. So similar arrangement is also here. So these two muscle, first is the flexor accessorius. This assist in the flexion of the digits, as well as it by its traction, it uh, uh, it alleviate this oblique pull of this flexor digitorum longus. It causes this oblique pull straighter. And second muscle is the lumbrical. It maintains the extension at this interphalangeal joint. So this flexure they work more efficiently. Now after cutting and reflecting the flexor digitorum longus as well as the uh, quadratus plantae or the flexor accessorius, the third layer of the muscles they are revealed, and they are the short intrinsic muscle. They are now the two muscle they are related to the hallux, flexor hallucis brevis and adductor hallucis, and one is related to the digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi brevis. And as we consider through the with relation to the palm, these flexor muscles they are lying. So starting with this first muscle, which is the flexor of the hallux, flexor hallucis brevis. Now these muscles they are confined, these three muscles they are confined to the metatarsal region only. So the flexor hallucis, it arises by its two head, medial head and lateral head. Now this lateral head, it arises from this cuboid and the lateral cuneiform, from this area just posterior to the groove for the passage of this tendon of the fibularis longus. So this is the portion, this is the groove, and just posterior to the groove, this is the portion from where this lateral head arises. And this medial head, it arises from this lateral continuity of the insertion of the tibialis posterior, which is lying deeper, and superficially it arises from the medial intermuscular septum. So from these two slips which merge and later on they bifurcate to be inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx of the hallux through the sesamoid bone. And their insertion, they merge with, like the medial slip, it merges with the insertion of the abductor hallucis, and this lateral one, it merges with the insertion of the adductor hallucis. Now these muscle, it causes the flexion of the hallux, as well as it supports this medial longitudinal arch, and it is supplied by the medial plantar nerve. The second muscle is adductor hallucis. Adductor hallucis, it arises by its two head. One is this oblique head and second is the transverse head. Now this oblique head, it arises from the bases of the second, third and fourth metatarsal and the adjoining portion of the fibrous sheath related to the tendon of the fibularis longus. And the transverse head, which is a narrower one, it arises from the this metatarsophalangeal joint of third, fourth and fifth, plantar aspect of the metatarsophalangeal joint of the third, fourth and fifth digits, and the intervening portion of the deep transverse metatarsal ligament. From these two slips, the muscle converge into a short tendon, which is merging with the this lateral head of the flexor hallucis brevis, and through this it is attached to the base of the proximal phalanx of the hallux. And the nerve supply is the deep branch of the lateral plantar nerve, and this muscle causes the adduction of the thumb, pulls it towards the side of the other tarsals, and because of that it arches this portion in the transverse direction and it supports the transverse arch. And the third muscle is the flexor digiti minimi brevis. Now it arises from the base of the fifth metatarsal bone and the adjoining portion of the fibrous sheath related to the tendon of the fibularis longus. From these two proximal attachment, this muscle belly, it moves towards the base of the proximal phalanx, and here it is attached to the base of the proximal phalanx on the medial side, and it is the flexor of the this little digit, little finger, and it is supplied by the superficial branch of the lateral plantar nerve. Now next is we cut and reflect the both head of the adductor hallucis, oblique as well as the transverse head, and then the muscle which are evident are these interossei, and also when these are removed, the tendon of the interossei, they are similar to the interossei in the palm or hand, and they are of two type. One is the palmar one, which are slender and unipinnate in type. Here it is plantar one, and second is similar to that of the dorsal. This is the dorsal interossei. They are more bulkier and they are bipinnate, arising from the cleft. So these plantar interossei, they adduct, and the axis has moved medially. So the axis is the second phalangeal portion, axis of the second phalanx. So this is the longer one here. So these finger, they have to be adducted towards this second digit. So these palmar one, though they are interossei, they lie beneath the metatarsal and they are arising from the medial side of their digits, base of the metatarsal of their respective digits, and they are inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx on the medial side, and also they are inserted into the dorsal distal expansion or the extensor expansion. So these unipinnate plantar interossei. Then deeper to that, these are the dorsal interossei. Now the dorsal interossei, they are bipinnate, so they are arising from the both the metatarsal bone of the adjacent side of the cleft. So they are arising from the first, second, third and fourth cleft, starting with first, starting from the portion of the first and second digit. Now these arising from the base of the first one, arising from the base of the metatarsal of the adjacent portion, and it is attached to the medial side of the second phalanx, base of the second phalanx on the medial side, and second, third and fourth, they are arising from the adjacent side of their metatarsal bone, base of the metatarsal bone, but they are attached to the lateral aspect of their digits on the base of the proximal phalanx. Thus they cause abduction, move the fingers away from this axis. And these both interossei, they are supplied by the deep branch of the lateral plantar nerve, except those in the this fourth one in the lateral most cleft. Here the third one, here this is the fourth one. So they are supplied by the superficial branch of the lateral plantar nerve, and these interossei, they mainly work with this by their insertion into the dorsal distal expansion, and they extend the interphalangeal joint. along with the umbilical. So this is their main function. Now this fourth layer of the sole also comprises these two tendons which are grooving the bones on the plantar aspect of the bone. First is this fibulus longus and second is the tibialis posterior. The tendon of fibulus longus, it enters through this lateral margin of the foot into the sole, and this running against the lateral surface of the calcaneus, then lying against the lateral surface of the cuboid, and then changes direction abruptly when it lies in a tunnel at the plantar surface of the cuboid. And here this tunnel is bridged by this long plantar ligament, which is bridging the both the edges of this tunnel. So this tunnel is bridged by this long plantar ligament, and beyond this ligament this tendon goes again forward and medially, and it is attached to the lateral surface of the medial cuneiform and the adjacent lateral surface of the base of the first metatarsal bone. Now since there is an abrupt change of direction of the tendon here at the calcaneus and here at this lateral border of the cuboid, so these portion they have this sigmoid fibrocartilaginous portion or even the ossified portion, which is known as os peroneus. Next muscle is the tibialis posterior tendon, and this tendon it passes just inferior to the spring ligament plantar calcaneo-navicular ligament, and beyond this it is attached by its two slip, this medial superficial slip and this lateral deeper slip. Now this superficial slip it is attached to the tuberosity of navicular, and beyond this it is attached to the medial cuneiform on the lateral aspect. And this deeper slip it goes deeper and it gives rise to the medial fibers or medial head of the flexor hallucis brevis, and then it proceeds beyond and it is attached to the intermediate cuneiform, and after that it is attached to the bases of the second, third and fourth metatarsal, and the slip to the fourth metatarsal is the strongest one. Now the sole it is supplied by these two set of the plantar arteries, which are the branches of posterior tibial artery, and they are known as medial plantar artery, which is lying medially, and a lateral plantar artery, which is lying laterally. Now this medial plantar artery we will discuss it here, but here there is these plantar artery, they are similar to that of the counterpart in their hand, ulnar and radial artery, and this arch which is formed here, this is only one in number, that is different from that of the hand where there were superficial and deep arches. Here only there is a deeper arch lying between the third and fourth layer of the sole, and which is a continuation of this lateral plantar artery, and that will be discussed later. Here we are going to discuss the medial plantar artery. So let's understand this portion. This medial plantar artery, which is a branch from the posterior tibial artery just arising beneath the flexor retinaculum, and as it passes into the sole it first lies beneath this abductor hallucis, and here the nerve, this medial plantar nerve, it is lying lateral to the artery. Now later on it initially it lies just beneath the abductor hallucis, and later on it lies between the abductor hallucis and flexor digitorum brevis, and gives branches to muscular branches to both of these muscles. Then at the base of the first metatarsal it divides and it gives a superficial branch which passes along with the branches from this medial plantar nerve to the digital branches, and this deep branch, then it goes towards the head of the metatarsal, and then it gives branches to the hallux. This deep branch is dedicated to the big toe, and it gives branches, distal branches to this big toe, and these distal branches, they finally anastomose with the plantar metatarsal arteries. So this is the medial plantar nerve, and this is the shorter branch from the posterior tibial artery. And the second is the lateral plantar artery, which is the larger subdivision of the posterior tibial artery. Again, it rises beneath the flexor retinaculum, and then it descends forward and lateralward. Now, as it moves into the sole, it first lies beneath the abductor hallucis, then it lies between the flexor accessorius and flexor digitorum brevis, and more laterally as it moves, it lies between the flexor digitorum brevis and abductor digiti minimi, and as it moves near the base of the this fifth metatarsal, or in the wave spaces between these two, between the fourth and fifth metatarsal, here it abruptly turn medially. Now at this portion is subcutaneous, so it lies just underneath the skin superficial fascia and plantar aponeurosis. Then this portion, it moves by giving a superficial branch. This portion moves deeper beneath the third and fourth layer, or accurately beneath the oblique head of the adductor hallucis. So it lies between the oblique head of the abductor hallucis and this interossei, which is the fourth layer. So it moves medialward, and then it moves up to this portion of first cleft, and here it is arch, which is known as the plantar arch, and it is completed by the dorsalis pedis artery. So this plantar arch is completed here. Now here the relation is that the lateral plantar nerve, it is lying medial to the lateral plantar artery in its course, and this plantar arch, it moves with the deep branch of this lateral plantar nerve. It follows the deep branch of the lateral plantar nerve. So the deep branch of the lateral plantar nerve and this plantar arch both lies between the third layer and fourth layer of the sole, whereas the plantar neurovascular portion, the lateral and medial plantar artery and the nerve, they are lying between the first and the second layer of the sole. So this is their relation. So the plantar arch, it is the counterpart of the deep palmar arch. There is no superficial arch here. So this extend from the base of the fourth metatarsal to the base of the second metatarsal, or rather the second, this first cleft, where it is completed by the branch from the dorsalis pedis artery. So it is a deeper continuation of the lateral plantar artery, which follows the deeper branch of the lateral plantar nerve, and it lies between the oblique head of the adductor hallucis and the interossei and the metatarsal. So this is the deep seated arch, and this arch, it gives these branches. So these are the branches. They are four set of plantar metatarsal arteries and three set of perforating branches. Now these plantar metatarsal artery, they are given off, and they then bifurcate in the portion of the cleft of this finger, the space between the two phalanges. So it gives this common plantar artery, and then they forms the proper plantar digital artery in the wave space. And this perforating artery, they are again two in number. They are proximal perforating branches, and there are distal perforating branches, which are given off just before they give the common plantar artery. So these proximal and distal perforating artery, through these it anastomose with the corresponding dorsal metatarsal artery, which is a branch from this arcuate arteries. So these are the anastomotic pattern between these two, and also it gives numerous branches to the muscles as well as to the skin and the fascia of the sole. So this is the main supply of the sole, this lateral plantar artery, through this arch, plantar arch, as well as its branches. Now the innervation of the sole is innervated by these two plantar nerves, which are the terminal division of the tibial nerve. One is this medial plantar nerve, and second is this lateral plantar nerve. And both plantar nerve, they lie between the plantar artery, medial and lateral plantar artery. So they lie between these arteries. Now this medial plantar nerve, it as it emerges as a terminal branch from the tibial nerve beneath the flexor retinaculum, then it lies beneath this abductor hallucis, and after that it lies between the abductor hallucis and flexor digitorum brevis. Then it divides into its two terminal division, a slender medial division and a thicker lateral division. Now this slender medial division, this is a proper distal branch to the medial side of the hallux, and this lateral subdivision then goes, and it at the base of the metatarsal it divides into common plantar distal nerve, which near the head of the metatarsal or at the level of this cleft, it divides into proper plantar distal nerve for the adjacent side of these digits. So the innervation is similar to that of the median nerve. It supplies 3.5 visits. Now these are the portion of which supplies the cutaneous portion, and these distal nerve also supplies up to the portion of the nail bed by moving dorsally, and the cutaneous branches to the sole, it arises between this abductor hallucis and flexor digitorum brevis, and it pierces through the plantar aponeursis and supplies this medial portion of the sole. Now the muscular branches. Muscular branches, they are given to this muscle, abductor hallucis and flexor digitorum brevis. They are from the main trunk. Branches to the abductor hallucis and to the flexor digitorum brevis. They are from the main trunk of this medial plantar nerve. Then it supplies the branch to the flexor hallucis brevis, and this branch is a branch emerging from this medial twig, the branch which is the branch to the hallux going as a proper distal nerve. From its proximal portion the branch emerges, it supplies the flexor hallucis brevis, and this common plantar distal nerve to this first space. It gives a branch to the first lumbrical. And third set of branches, they are articular branches to the joints of the metatarsal as well as to the tarsals. Lateral plantar nerve, this is the terminal division from this tibial nerve and it moves laterally. Now this lateral plantar nerve, it is the homologue of the ulnar nerve. Now this nerve, as it appears beneath the flexor retinaculum as a terminal division from the tibial nerve, then it passes forward and laterally with the artery being lateral to it, and it initially lies beneath the abductor hallucis, then it lies between the flexor digitorum brevis and flexor accessorius, then it moves further laterally and at the tubercle towards the tubercle of the fifth metatarsal, and at this level it lies between the this abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi, and between these two it divides into its terminal branches, and these terminal branches, they are the superficial and the deep slipping beneath the oblique head of the adductor hallucis, and this superficial, it is lying in the plane between the abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi. Now the superficial branches are given off initially from the main trunk. The main trunk, it supplies the branches to the flexor accessorius and to this abductor digiti minimi, and also the branches, they pierce laterally to this plantar aponeurosis and supplies this lateral portion of the sole, the skin of the lateral portion of the sole. Now the superficial branch, it gives two twig, one is the lateral twig and one is the medial twig. Now the lateral twig, it gives a branch to which is a proper distal branch to the lateral side of this little finger, and a medial branch, and the second branch, which is the muscular branch, which supplies the interossei in this fourth intermetatarsal space as well as branch to the flexor digiti minimi brevis. Now this medial twig, it communicates with the common plantar distal nerve from this medial plantar nerve, and then their communication, it bifurcates and it supplies the adjacent side of this fourth and fifth digits, lateral side of this fourth digit and medial side of this little finger. Now the deep branch, it moves medialward with the this plantar arch. So just lying proximal to the plantar arch, it moves medialward and it gives the branches which are muscular branches and the branches which are going to this portion of the muscles of the deeper portion. So this supplies the interossei, remaining interossei lying in this first, second and third intermetatarsal space and the lumbricals, and also it supplies the adductor hallucis. So these are the two set of branches, superficial and deep. So that's the end of the lecture on the sole. Thank you.